Hello and welcome to the FATBOSS guide to the Champion of Light encounter.
So this first boss is probably the easiest boss this expansion, and also probably the worst boss this expansion. Regardless, let's jump straight in.
You want to tank the boss on one side of the room and tank all of the other adds on the other side. During this phase, DPS should ignore all of the adds as killing them will just buff the boss with a permanent damage increase. Now the tank on the boss will be hit by Sacred Blade. This stacking dot for the most part can be ignored and doesn't need a tank swap as it will eventually just drop naturally and it doesn't do too much damage anyway. Just be ready to use cooldowns around the 10 stack mark. As for the raid, they need to stand to one side of the boss, facing directly towards her, making sure that you're always facing directly away from the adds. Now the reason you need to keep faced away from the adds is because of the Blinding Faith cast. This will be frequently cast by the Crusader, and if your character is facing him at the end of the cast, you're going to be disoriented for 5 seconds. By having the raid positioned looking at the boss throughout phase 1, you can pretty much ignore this mechanic entirely. The tank, however, will need to keep an eye out for it and make sure they turn their back. The boss will frequently send out a wave of light towards the adds. This deals damage to anyone in the path of it, and it does heal the adds if they're hit. This doesn't matter at all during phase 1, and the raid shouldn't even need to move from it if you're stood to one side of the boss. Now over time the boss will gain energy, and at 100% she'll transition into phase 2.
Now during this phase she will now gain zealotry stacks whenever a non-tank hits her. This gives her a stacking damage increase. As a result, you now need to go swap and kill off the 3 adds, as when any adds dies in this phase they won't give her the stacks. As she transitions into this phase, she will buff one of the adds, which significantly increases the damage they deal and their healing done. You want to work out which add has been buffed and kill this one off first. Aside from the Blinding Faith cast, the Crusaders will also place consecration patches on the ground. These deal ticking damage to anyone stood within them, whilst also reducing the damage the adds take while they're inside of them by 50%. So you want to make sure you keep moving the adds out of any of these patches using things like knockbacks or just interrupting their casts. The 2 disciples have 3 casts. Heal is the most important to interrupt as it heals one of the adds for a shitload. Penance is the second most important as it will also heal an add or it will just deal damage to a player. And Divine Burst is the least important. It just deals a burst of damage to a random player. Once all 3 adds are dead, you can then move back towards the boss, but do not attack her immediately. You're going to need to wait for her energy to go back to 100%, at which point she'll cast Judgment Reckoning, which deals a burst of damage to the raid, and then she will re-enter phase 1, at which point you can begin to attack her again without her gaining any damage increased zealotry stacks. When you re-enter the phase, you'll have a new set of adds spawn, the tank is going to need to pick them up, and then you can simply repeat the fight from there. The last thing to mention is that the boss does gain a flat 30% damage increase once she reaches 30% health. This doesn't really affect anything in the fight. You shouldn't need to save bloodlust or cooldowns just to burst her down, just continue the fight as normal. And that's the encounter. But before we do end, we should mention that alternatively, if you do have high enough damage, you can just nuke the boss and completely ignore the adds throughout the entire fight. This does mean that the boss is going to get a shitload of zealotry stacks during phase 2, which means when she does cast her reckoning at the end of the phase, the whole raid's going to get hit by a massive amount of damage. But if you stack all your personal cooldowns and healing cooldowns, you should be able to survive it. As long as you don't see that phase again, it shouldn't be an issue, and probably worth doing as it's going to save you a lot of time. But thanks for watching, guys. If you'd like to know more about this encounter or just have handy notes ready for your raid, then do go check out our work over on Wowhead. A link for that can be found in the description. If this guide helped you out, then please do drop us down a like, it helps us out a lot, and we shall see you all in the next one.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.